Guys, what's going on? I hope you guys are well. I hope you guys are staying safe. I hope everything's good wherever you are. Guys, yesterday I did a video about Andre Ward saying that Caleb Plant's going to stop him. And I think a lot of you reacted this the way I reacted, really. I was very shocked by Ward's comments. I thought his comments were, I don't know, I just found them a bit weird. Some of you were accusing Ward of jealousy and saying that, Ward is jealous and he doesn't want Canelo to achieve this, that, and the other because he's going to achieve something that he didn't. Andre Ward is a really classy individual. He doesn't come across a jealous type. I think he comes across, as somebody that would give a fighter his props if he achieves a lot. So I don't think it's that, because I think I think there's something there. Obviously, I do think there's. I know Andre Ward has dismissed that there's no rivalry, but I want to take you guys back where Andre Ward said that Canelo Alvarez has never called out my name. He said he said this in a interview that there's no rivalry there. Canelo Alvarez has never called my name. And he said something on the lines that if Canelo Alvarez was to call my name, maybe they could, I don't know, something like that. I remember him saying something like that. Canelo Alvarez, for me, is not the type of fighter that's going to call anyone out, especially someone that he doesn't need, in the sense that the reason why he was talking about Caleb and Billy Joe, because those guys had belts. So he was saying that I want to be undisputed, and he's the money man. All of those guys want to fight him. But when it comes to Andre Ward, would Canelo call out Andre Ward? Would Canelo call out Andre Ward if he beats Caleb Plant? Would he call out Andre Ward? I don't think so. I don't think Canelo's that type of guy. I don't think, especially because Canelo's the cash cow, not believes, he is the cash cow, right? The cash cow don't call anyone out, generally. The guys that making the big money don't call anyone out because they believe they're the star. Now, Andre Ward, if Canelo was to call him out and say, like, I want to fight Andre Ward next, would Andre Ward consider a comeback fight? Possibly. Because then he's called him out. And Andre Ward is young enough to get back in the ring. However, I wouldn't favor him now against Canelo, because I think, firstly, we don't know, is Ward been in the gym? Has he been training? If he has, and he's in good shape, and he's been keeping after his body, which he looks like he has, then he could be a problem. He still could be a dangerous fight for Canelo. Because a lot of you, when I did the live stream, a lot of you were saying that Andre Ward would beat him. Some of you were saying, no, Canelo beats him. But some of you were saying that Andre Ward wins that fight. So that would be a big fight. That would be a big fight, because Andre Ward, let's not forget, he's definitely, for me, a great fighter. He's one of the great super middleweights ever. He was unbelievable. He outclassed a lot of guys. He beat guys easy, beat Kovalev. So for me, that would be a monster fight. And that would be a real legacy fight for Canelo. The only problem is, I don't know whether Andre Ward at this stage of his career, would he entertain it? He's been out of the ring for a while. I'm not sure. I would like to see it as a fan, but from the way Andre Ward spoke, I don't think he believes he needs that fight. But then you never know. You never know, because like I said, Andre Ward is still big enough. It's still good enough. Like I still think he'll still be good enough. Is he good enough to come back and beat someone like Canelo at this stage, when Canelo's at the peak of his powers? Ward's been out the ring for a while. Because when was the last time Ward fought? In 2017, that's almost 4 years. Could a guy stay out the ring for 4 years and come back and fight Canelo? Because Ward won't just come back and fight Canelo. He'd have to have a tune-up fight. Ward does things properly. That's why when he came back, he didn't jump straight in with Kovalev. He had a few tune-up fights. So Ward will definitely have a tune-up fight. He'll take this seriously. He's not just going to jump in there with Canelo. he's going to take everything seriously before he goes in a ring with Canelo Alvarez. Because Ward's never lost before. And when a guy's never lost before, and he hasn't lost since he was 12 years of age, that is a guy that doesn't like losing. So he's going to make sure that before a fight of that magnitude, that he prepares himself to the best of his ability. Or he prepares himself to the best and make sure there's no stone unturned, because he wants to make sure that he's prepared. That's Andre Ward. Hence why Andre Ward never took anyone lightly. He never took anyone lightly, because that's why he's undefeated. These guys that are undefeated, they never take any of their opponents lightly. And Ward never took any of his opponents lightly. No matter whether he's fighting a guy that has no chance of beating him, he never takes him lightly. He always is professional and he leaves no stone unturned. Hence why you always see consistent performances generally from Andre Ward. So Ward would want a tune-up fight. He'd want to do it properly. There's no way. I think Virgil Hunter said that as well, that he won't just go straight in with Canelo. But I don't know how practical it is at this point. I know we would all get excited about it, but is it practical? Realistically, do we see that fight happening? I don't think so. I don't think so, guys. I'm just got to be honest. I don't think it's practical for us to talk about a Canelo-Andre Ward fight. I'm not sure it's going to happen. But if Canelo calls out Andre Ward, could we see the fight? I don't know. Because Andre Ward seems like a guy that he won't back down from a challenge. And he's a guy that wants to challenge himself. It's just that at this stage of his career, at 37, could he come back, get ready, and be in good enough condition? Because he's going to have... Andre Ward is going to have to be near his best to beat Canelo. There's no fighter, I believe, in around those weights that can't be at his best and will beat Canelo Alvarez. You have to be at your best. Canelo's too good for you not to be at your best and beat him. You're just not going to. So can Andre Ward come back and beat Canelo Alvarez at this stage in his career? Because remember, when he was doing it with Kovalev, he was still young. He was still 33, 30. You know, that's not old. When you get to 37, your reflexes, everything start to, leave you. Now, Mayweather at 36 was still the best fighter in the world. The only problem, Mayweather was active as well. Whereas Andre Ward has not fought for 4 years. If I was to say what I think, do I think this fight happens? I'm leaning more towards no, but I never say never. With all the money, because here's the thing, I think Andre Ward really earned big money for Sergey Kovalev when he fought Kovalev. But I don't really think he's earned like 40, 50 million. I might be wrong, but I don't think he's earned that kind of money. And I do think with a fight against Canelo Alvarez, I believe he could earn that kind of money. So I reckon the money that he could potentially earn from a Canelo Alvarez fight, and don't get me wrong, Ward must be a wealthy guy, could be life-changing in the sense that it could be something like 30, 40, who knows, million. And he may not be able to turn that down. The competitive nature of Andre Ward and then the financial gain that he'll get from that fight, he may not be able to turn it down. Even at 37, he may say, you know what, it's a risk, but it's worth a risk. Because let's be honest, Ward will be putting his legacy on the line. Ward's never lost. He's a gold medalist. He's like I said, never lost since 12 years. That's a legacy. So you coming back, fighting Canelo, losing will hurt your legacy. Of course, irrespective. Yeah, people may say he was past his best, but still, Roy Jones, those knockouts, even though people know he was past his best, they hurt his legacy. Because people are seeing you lose. They're seeing you get knocked out. Let's see how this develops. I would love to see Canelo Alvarez v Andre Ward. I think it would be a great fight. I do think it might be 2-3 years too late. I think if it was 2-3 years ago and Ward was 34, I think, wow, we would have a fight. I think when Ward beat Kovalev, if Canelo was doing his thing like he is, The other problem is for Andre Ward, he can't make 168 now. I'd be very surprised. Because Andre Ward was, even when he was young, when he was fighting guys like Carl Froch, he was always a big 168. It wasn't easy for him to make weight. So the incentive to fight Canelo Alvarez would only be like, the incentive for him to fight Canelo Alvarez would be because Canelo's undisputed. But I don't know whether Ward could make 168 to fight Canelo. And surely Ward's not going to want to fight him at 175 for no belt. Because if Canelo's, just say, goes to 175, he's going to have to fight somebody. And there's going to be too much time goes by. And Ward's going to be old by then. So you'd have to say that fight would have to happen in the next 12 months for it to make sense for Ward. Because he's getting older. So this is what I mean. Could Ward make 168? I don't think he could. I don't think he could. At this point. Maybe he could. I don't know. Maybe he could. I'm just giving you what I think. Because from what I know, that Andre Ward was a big 168. And if he's a big 168, right, when he was in his prime, now he's 37. He must have put on muscle. He must have put on a little bit of weight as well. Because think about it, he's 37. So as you get older, like Carl Froch said, if he was to come back, he couldn't fight at 168. Because he's put on muscle, he's in the gym. I don't know. You see, I don't know. And Andre Ward was bigger than Carl Froch. So I don't know. I'm not sure he could. So I don't know what the incentive would be for him to fight Canelo. Yeah, it'd be a big payday. And obviously, it's fighting Canelo. So even though it's not a title fight, it still adds to your legacy because you'd be fighting the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world. To be honest with you, I think Andre Ward's got a lot more to gain. Because if he was to lose, yeah, he would lose a lot because he would lose his legacy of being undefeated and he'd lose all of that. And that's a lot to lose. He hasn't lost since 12. But he would also have a lot to gain because if he comes back and beats the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world after 4 years out the ring at 37, wow, that would add to his leg. That would put him on another level, you know. So I don't know. I don't think the fight would happens, but you know, it's definitely you know, we definitely can dream. But yeah, leave your thoughts. Let me know what you think. And guys, remember to please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.